But I got a lot of stuff, so might as well just roll with it. First of all, I'm going to be speaking next week. Like I said, it's going to be called The Necronomicon and More Science. I'll be speaking next week. So for those particular people who want to come back through and all, we always have a good discussion and all. I feel like this and all, hey, we ain't got nothing else to do. Shit, So, just come and roll with it. So now, first thing I want to deal with is the particular civil war in Africa. Now, this is amazing. They got this civil war in Africa damn near with let's say about 20-something countries fighting each other all over Africa. And since 1990 or 91, then they had all these civil wars breaking out. So we know doggone well that was already something that they did to it was done on the outside force. Like I said, the book that used to come out, Covert Action in the World Report, used to talk about how they should show how each city in each country in Africa was being destabilized either by the British, the French, the Americans, and Israel is a real big one. That bastard over there and all. Israel is a real big one. And different interests of the European powers was coming in and was destabilizing countries and different things like that for mineral wealth as well as everything else. But the main thing is the reason why these particular civil wars was also going on, not only was mineral wealth, because we know they've been doing that since colonization and even before that. But the reason why these particular civil wars was going on, we find out, is that they had to have an excuse. So if anybody in the near future would come in and say, what in the hell happened to all the people that was on the continent that's depopulated now, which damn near they have wiped out just about the majority of the continent, spite what you think, because they show you certain areas, and I said before, and a lot of areas is based on tourism. You don't go and see the continent because the continent is a huge continent, and it would take damn near a year to cover the whole thing, and all, and a great deal of money. So what the deal is they just show when they have certain spots that they don't touch, and certain tourist attractions they don't touch. But for the most part, most of Africa has been wiped out. You see what I'm saying? We're talking about millions upon millions of people that's dead. You see what I'm saying? When they had to depopulate, the first wave was with the AIDS thing. We do know that. The other part is with the Ebola thing. We do know that. But the other thing is these particular one is depopulated because the World Health Organization, which is the main one, have melanin camps. Explain this to you. They have melanin camps all over Africa. These huge melanin camps is done by the World Health Organization. And what these things are is this. They are able to take mass quantities of bodies and they extract the melanin out. Then they take that particular melanin and they ship that melanin to the United States. And the United States has melatonin laboratories and they make melatonin out of it. As well as the United States has a few melanin camps. That's we know this based on the amount of black people, 12 million black people being missing since 1990. How can there be 12 million? Like I said before, even Jesse Jackson had hit on a number, it tapped into a number in 1988 that there were 60 million black people. So now if they give you a lower number of 30 million and shit, or 40 million, they give you this low number. They've been saying 30 million and 20 million since the 60s. And if they give you this low number, that means that they can count mass numbers of people in the population. They can count mass numbers that they can kill. So if they say 30 million people, and most black people still think we got 30 million people. You understand what I'm saying? But we done had more babies in the last 5 years than we had in all the damn 1970s and 60s. But yes, we still 30 million. So if they give you that small number, that means that's so many million people that they can pick from and kill. So they said it was about 60 million people, and by it being damn near 60 million people, this means that they can kill 12 million people and you don't even miss it. And so, but basically the mass amount of these particular melanin carriers that's getting killed is the continent. So that means if they're killing 12 million people here, and that's a large number to us, that means they're killing 15 times as many on the continent, because we're talking about literally a continent that is cut off from most of the world. Even if they go and see, even when they see the continent, only time you see the continent, they're seeing some damn lions and some shit somewhere. Now, how is it that they can, National Geographic and them can be in this continent for years and they can take the plane and fly over vast amounts of the continent and you don't see no people? Then when you see the people, you like see 10 or 15 people walking around and they call that a damn tribe. You see what I'm saying? But you don't see mass amounts of people. You got more people in Europe that you see. If you was to go to Germany and go to different places and just ride around, you would see a heavily populated city, cities and states, which Europe is the smallest land in the world. So then what we're talking about here is, if you see this, we're talking about that Africa being such a place that's cut off from the rest of the world. And then not only cut off from the rest of the world, Africa is cut off from most of Africa. If you go 30 miles down the street, you know what I'm saying? You got the, they don't have a bridge or a road there. You got to get on the goddamn airplane just to go next door. 10 miles, just to travel 10 miles, you might have to go and get on the airplane or some kind of thing and all, because they don't have a highway system, and they made it that way in colonization to never make this thing modernized to the point whereas you can get in a car and drive all over Africa. You can get in a car, get in a train and drive all over Europe. You see what I'm saying? But you can't in America. But it's never all over Africa. And the reason is because they destabilize this particular country, and that's the way they can keep it cut off from the rest of the world. And even within Africa, they can keep certain portions cut off from the other part of Africa. You see what I'm saying? So this is, and then based on ignorance and everything else, they can actually destabilize these particular countries. So the bulk of the melanin carriers that's being killed is being killed in Africa, and then and also you have a great deal here, but the melatonin laboratories here are in America. So and then probably in parts of Europe, but you have melanin camps there where they can actually take this particular melanin out of the body. Like I said before, it's basically there's the main melanated parts, and there's different parts of your body that's main melanated parts and stuff. So we're talking about literally invasion of the body snatchers and all, and our people are no different than damn cows and chickens and the rest of things like this. So now, so these are some things that's actually going on now. This is the interesting part. This is the interesting part. They said, like I said before, recapping some things, they got enough melanin to keep enough melatonin pills that they have made that last for 1,000 years. You see what I'm saying? Now, this is the key part, too. The leftover body parts are meat, because there ain't nothing meat. The leftover body parts. Now, this is the key thing. The leftover body parts, both, and especially here in America. I don't know about Africa, because the whole thing is they don't want to. I don't know what they do in Africa, but the leftover body parts here in America is ground into ground beef. And this is where you get your hamburgers. This is where you get meat products for a certain amount of chicken, like chicken patties and stuff, hamburgers, bologna, wieners, hot dogs, processed stuff, hot dogs, lunch meat. You see what I'm saying? Different meat products, like they got these meatloafs, like you see a damn turkey.
Who followed this flag 150 years ago knew what it meant.
Damn turkey with no bones and shit. You see what I'm saying? Like they came out like you know, they came out in the 80s and stuff. Turkeys with no bones and stuff like this, meatloaf, different types of meat products with no bones and stuff. This is because it has meat substitute, and the meat substitute is black bodies, as well as some poor whites. Now, this is the reason why we know this is this can constitute for the when my brother was working for Aetna Insurance at that time, the biggest insurance company in America, and this can constitute when they said, well, there was a little retarded boy that was like you know, he couldn't even speak, he was retarded, he never had sex before, you know, because he didn't even know, he couldn't even talk, you know, he just got drooling and shit, would come down with AIDS, and they said, well, what did he come down with AIDS? So they said he came down with AIDS from the fucking hamburgers. You see what I'm saying? Then you understand. So we was wondering, they were saying that animals in digestive system, that book. And so now we understand, well, now we can understand a direct link. Well, we were still trying to say, what is the link with AIDS? How can a person come down with AIDS from the meat? what we understood about what Strecker said that you can get from the bovine virus and the Visma virus. They put it together and you made AIDS, which is biological warfare. But basically the meat and all that it was coming down with and stuff is basically some of the people that they're killing has AIDS. So therefore when they grind that and put it in the doggone meat, then you understand that in actuality, you can come down with this particular AIDS just by eating meat. Some people say, well, is it just black people eating this? No, white people are cannibals, period. And they've been eating us, so therefore it's just like business as usual. You see what I'm saying? So they're talking about this meat product they're talking about is all over the place. And this is what they're doing now. They're feeding the leftover parts. They are feeding people. They're feeding and they're putting it all in the meat products. You see what I'm saying? So so that's one other reason, you know, also too, is we might be eating some nigger we knew in first grade. But Bill Clinton, one of Bill Clinton's duty is to eat a certain amount of, the president's duty is to eat a certain amount of the black person's body. Also, we'll understand why is this a particular so prevalent, because it's always been prevalent. It's always been prevalent and all. Now, I got a book called, the out-of-print book called the History of Evil. And it's a book put out by Richard Cavendish. This one, though, is the one put out by Richard Cavendish is the one that was out of print. He has the one called Black Arts that you can get, but the other one you can't get. But I'm going to explain some things. So Bill Clinton and different presidents, once they become president, they have to eat a certain amount of black bodies. And this is a ritual as well as a Masonic type thing also they have to do. They have to do also too. But one of the reasons why this is going on is because of vampirism. Now it's interesting because we figured that vampirism or the vampires is not real, but you know, in the book Psychic Self-Defense by, what's the girl name? Dionne Fortune, she talks about vampires and werewolves and all of those particular things. But it's interesting that in 1994, these big, huge volumes of books came out on vampires and vampirism. And it was not sold in fairy tales. These was actually books, occult books on vampirism. So they was actually telling people that this whole phenomenon of vampirism is real. And we're talking about books, mass volumes of books with damn near 600 pages to a book. And none of this stuff is a damn novel or explaining some fucking stories or some Dracula thing. This is all of the art of vampirism. So we're talking about a real phenomenon. The European blacks from the Moors that was in Spain, the Irish, that you had a black element in Ireland, Scotland, the black Russians up until the present day was hunted down and eaten for medicine and different things by the Europeans. And this constitutes for your whole Dracula story, which is a true story of how the Europeans ate our people for medicine. You see what I'm saying? And that's what you, as far as vampirism. So it's interesting now that the same time in 1994 they would come out with these mass volume books. I mean, damn near every month they came out with these particular books. And I'm like, what in the hell is going on? Why are these people so fascinated with vampirism? Now it's interesting because there's a company in Stone Mountain, Georgia. They put out a lot of books. This company has about 20 or 30 books. The name of the company is called White Wolf Game Studio. So it's White Wolf Book Company. And their whole thing is to take all mythology and somehow fuse it in with this vampirism. So all their books is talking about vampires. They got a whole section at Tower Records on all of this vampire stuff. And this company is in Stone Mountain, Georgia. Stone Mountain, Georgia is this company that puts out this particular books and stuff, which I'm going to read. This is one of the books called The Book of Nod. A Book of Nod. And this book here is fused in with, and I think the book is basically telling the truth. This book is fused in with not only the history of the world as far as the Egyptians and the black man and black woman, but it's also saying that throughout history we had these vampires. So the whole key is when you look at this particular book, and this particular book you will see will be in some type of game section or comic section, you're going to bypass it. But I'm saying for a whole book company to write this particular stuff, infusing them with all kinds of sacred rituals and symbols and stuff. It means in actuality they are now putting out the history of a race of people that were vampires. That I explained some part of that last week. You see what I'm saying? So White Wolf Publishing Company, and the name of this book is the Book of Nod, which I'm going to read you a passage in here in a few minutes to explain something, exactly what I'm talking about right here. They bear witness to what's going on here. And it says that in 1994, the reason why they put out these vampire books is because it made it possible. It was a milestone for the white race because it meant that the convenience for the vampires that they did not have to eat physical bodies anymore, that now they had processed physical bodies known as melatonin. You see what I'm saying? Known as melatonin. So therefore, they were saying that it's more feasible for a person to be a vampire out in the open now. You see what I'm saying? As of years of being these people that's eating out particular people. Now, some people say that's some crazy shit this nigga's saying. But how is it the book of Enoch that is left out of the Old Testament? The book of Enoch said we have become food for the sinners. They're talking about the ancient black people, the ancient black Hebrew from northern Ethiopia. We have become food for the sinners. So they're talking about actually the book of Enoch, which is the Tahuti, which is talking about the Egyptians, just talking about the black race. So they said we have become food. So we're not just talking about something that we can talk about that's something that's new, that this brother's coming up and he's saying a whole lot of stuff and all. For all you people that's so doggone spiritual, you see what I'm saying? I think you're so spiritual. Why is it the book of Enoch says we become food for the sinners? You see what I'm saying? Also, the one I had, the book of Enoch, because there's two. There's the one by Lawrence, which is, did you ever order any more of those? It's kind of hard to get now.
When I ordered them, they said they were out.
Oh, out of it. This is the one you want to get. The one you want to get is a bigger one. The black one, but the one I had that had commentary, the book of Enoch, the one I had was by R.H. Charles. That's the one you want. You're going to have to order it from the Kessinger Publishing Company. You know, the one that put out all the out-of-print books. The R.H. Charles book. Now, it's interesting if you are having problems with New Leaf. There's a black guy I know in Philadelphia. He has a direct line with Kessinger. What happens is what you can do is you can call Kessinger and tell them that you want to be one of their book distributors. So they will send out a newspaper of all the out-of-print books, and they'll put your store name on the paper of the books that you can order from what you call it. So we're going to tap into that. You see what I'm saying? Because now this particular book by Isaac Mayer is called the oldest book in the world. It's dealing with the Peri M. Heru, which is the Book of the Dead. There was a book put out by Isaac Mayer, the oldest book in the world. It's called the oldest book in the world. Now that book is out in Kessinger Publishing Company. There's a book of Enoch. There's another Apocrypha. There's another Apocrypha that's out in the by the Kessinger Company. And there's a lot of out-of-print books and stuff, out-of-print books that we can get, as well as the book called Who Is This King of Glory by Alvin Boyd Kuhn. Another book of his is called Lost Light by Alvin Boyd Kuhn, also too. So that particular, the one we want to get, that R.H. Charles book is real good, because they're talking about Enoch looking into the future, and he says the particular kings of the mighty kings that's ruling the earth now. He's talking about white people. He said with all their concrete mountains. That's talking about skyscrapers. So we're talking about this, and all of this stuff is left out of the Old Testament. And stuff, you see. They don't even mention this particular stuff. And the reason why they didn't mention it, because he was so hard on white people until when you study it, you'll know that it's not talking about you. The book of Enoch is so hard where they don't spare nothing. Because this book is an apocalyptic book that is, if you really study it, it's also dealing with stuff that's it's dealing with UFOs you can find in there, which we'll deal with also today. It's also dealing with things in the future, such as such things as prophecy, certain amount of prophecy also too, which reminds me, that book that you need to get they got 3 of those books back there left. The Millennium Prophecies by A.T. Mann. Did you ever get one of those? Yeah, because see, that particular book, Millennium Prophecies, and his other book is called The Divine Plot. That book came out of England, and it was a bigger book. It was like $15. They condensed it as far as they cut it down in size, and it's got the same amount of information. And he's the best person I know that took every prophecy from around the world and put in one book. Nostradamus prophecies, and then he has a timeline. So you can basically go back and through the years up until now and see certain things that went down prophetic. You see what I'm saying? And that particular book is a great book to get also to take advantage of. That Millennium Prophecies by A.T. Mann, which he also explains certain prophecies of the Book of Enoch. That would also be a book of prophecy also too. But they say we would become food for the sinners. So now getting back to what I was saying, that they celebrated by putting out all these vampire books as a how-to guide to be vampires, for the simple fact in the first time in history they can be vampires because they didn't have to go and just snatch bodies and eat bodies on the cannibalistic style that they used to. They can get it all in one damn pill. So this was like a milestone to them. That's why Newsweek had the melatonin thing. U.S. News, Time, and every other report. As a matter of fact, now they have out a complete book, a little small paperback book on melatonin that they just put out. A little small $4 paperback book that they just put out on melatonin. Very key. Now, why am I recapping this? Why am I still talking about this? Because as I go on, these are the things that this is the hour in which we're in a crisis. So then we got to get this in our head that in actuality that we are living in a time whereas no different than the damn Jews in Nazi Germany running from the concentration camps. You understand what I'm saying? And this is the way we got to start thinking. You see what I'm saying? And especially when we saying, well, everything going to be all right and stuff. Like the Minister Louis Farrakhan, now he got a tape out I'm getting from California, getting from New York, where he's saying the white man is all right, the government is all right, and the government is all right, and the Jews ain't that bad, the government ain't all that bad. Surely this is a man that is damn near turncoat, as his name supposedly said and stuff. So what I'm trying to say is but then again, on the other hand, like I said before, we got revolutionaries that's waiting on the damn war, but when they realize that the war needs to be fought, it'll be over. Because this stuff is because the damn genocide is going on now. So we got all the revolutionaries saying, you know, and see, they even attacked me saying, well, you talking all that spiritual shit. I'm about revolution. I'm saying, but if you was a revolution, you need to be doing like me. And I'm not saying that you don't supposed to get no guns. I'm saying if you was a real revolutionary, we need a nigga that's stockpiling guns to get a nigga off our ass. You know what I'm saying? We need somebody in the food division. We need somebody in the water division. But also, remember now, the government is not just one damn department of fighting. They study everything. So we need to know what's going on, who's getting killed, and all this kind of thing. You see what I'm saying? So the revolutionaries just talking about fighting. And they're saying that's all bullshit, but hell, they came on TV last year and told you that the government spent almost $1 billion in the last 20 years for psychics and shit. And half of the psychics was coming up wrong and stuff. But that's how important things was in the damn prediction. You see what I'm saying? So now, hell, if you're a revolutionary, follow the cracker. He's the best fighting machine that's been on the damn planet. Because that's all he know how to do is kill. But even him, he just don't have things that's based on fighting. I mean, this is a complete study, whereas you're always at war, you got to know what the damn beast's doing, and that's the problem with the revolutionaries. They're waiting on the shit to jump overtly. The white man knew since the 60s that this war would not be fought on an overt style. Because they basically know overtly, if we rise up, our energy alone would kill them. They saw that with the Million Man March as far as the things that they were supposed to do. They didn't get up off the ground. You see what I'm saying? And that's the only positive thing that came out of the fucking march. Is you marching to crack a door and have enough energy to live. You see what I'm saying? And then they say some niggas didn't even come back home off of that shit. So they got people missing from the Million Man March didn't come back home. But I'm saying for the mass parts and stuff, they marched in the white man door and was able to live. That's the only thing positive came out of it. I mean, you know, because I'm quite sure you don't tell me that I'm a grown man and the only way I'm going to feel good about myself is get on a damn bus to go to D.C. to listen to Farrakhan do one of his worst speeches. Hell, he's done great speeches. Hell, right there at Wheat Street Baptist Church. And not say nothing, and you saying that that's going to lift you up. I mean, that's a sad representation of a black man. We done degenerated that far that it's going to take a bus ride for you to feel good about your damn self. You understand? When all you had to know was the cracker was the devil from a long time ago. And you can isolate all that shit. But we going to do better. See what I'm saying? Hell, I don't need to take a bus ride to D.C. to say the fuck I'm going to take care of my family and shit. You know what I'm saying? A few times in the jailhouse, I should know, get tired of that shit. You see what I'm saying? He's down, you know, but the